Hey guys, it's Tiff here, and this morning I am working in my handmade long skinny journal or tall skinny journal that I made. And I'm flipping through and I'm just finding a page that I want to work in today. I'm very close to filling this up. Yay! So I'm just taking a peek through the journal and deciding what page I want to work on, because I don't work in really chronological order. I just, whatever strikes my fancy is the page that I work in that day. Now, I will go ahead and tell you that this page took, it took some bobbing and weaving. Okay, that's what we're going to call it, bobbing and weaving. And I'm going in with a black gesso, and some pages are easier than others. I'm using two watercolor papers there. It's going to do two things. One, it's going to allow me to get some marks very organically onto the watercolor paper so that I can do different loose leaf papers. I thought about at the beginning of the year, and specifically this month of March, I've been thinking about how I can get more of my art into other people's homes. And so I've started selling a few small pieces of just loose watercolor paper that you can either put into your journal, or you could frame it and have that piece in your house. But it's important to me to get more of my artwork out into the hands of others. So as you see here, I did get some black gesso on the back side of this, because this paper that I used in this journal is very, very old, and it's a little bit falls apart. So that's what you pay, the price you pay whenever you want to use very old vintage papers in your journal, is it may or may not fall apart. So now I'm going to go in here after I've dried it, and I'm going to put down some masking tape, because we already know the masking tape is my spirit animal, and I'm going to have to put that on like a coffee cup or a t-shirt or something. And I'm just creating some horizontal lines here using the tape versus like a white paint or something. Well, what I will tell you is these don't last. And that's okay, because it's art, and if we don't like it, we can change it. And if y'all can tell that I'm not my normal upbeat self, I have hurt my back, and I'm trying to get this voiceover done. So please bear with me. I think I have a rib head that has popped out, and it is giving me a run for my money this morning. But let's pray that the chiropractor gets me all patched up, because being in pain is no fun at all. So I'm feeling good about this at the moment. And now, one of the things I wanted to challenge myself to do is use colors. Y'all know from last Monday's video when Michelle picked out three different colors that are not in my normal palette. I wanted to use some things that are not in my normal palette. So I'm using this Nickel Azo Gold, which I've used before. But the coral is not something that I typically go for. I'm more of a, let's do like a pink opposed to like this coral color. And this is just regular Americana's craft paint, I believe. And now I'm going to go in here with some light turquoise, because I really wasn't feeling the Nickel Azo Gold. And now I'm going in and I'm painting with gesso. And over here on this watercolor paper, I'm using it as my palette, but also like a springboard for a piece of watercolor paper abstract that I could also sell and get into other people's homes. So I I do create a video later using these, so I'll try to get that up soon. But I am going to do an abstract piece with some of these palettes and get those out to people who want them. So, and I added that coral, not coral, excuse me, that turquoise, that Liquitex Basics. I really love that turquoisey tealy green color. And I'm going in here with my excuse me, China marker. And I decided I did not like those masking tape. And I love how it tore, like it picked up the paint on this one side because these are two different kinds of paper. But I really thought that that was cool. And now I'm going to have some hair that gets in the camera here. Wild hair, don't care. And I'm trying to pull this up without completely tearing the paper to shreds. That's kind of tricky when it's that old. Oops, I tore some. It'll be fine. We'll just put some masking tape on. Masking tape fixes everything. So I'm just taking some of the bits and pieces of the masking tape and just kind of randomly sticking them around the page. And it's going to add some texture to it, and then I get sidetracked and I'm now scribbling on both the watercolor paper and on the journal page. So this is something kind of, I guess you could put it like, I like to work in multiple journals, and so this is one way like you could do it even, and I give this girl a tattoo on her face that was on the page below. But it's my journal and it's no big deal. So you could also do this in multiple journals as one paint. Oh my gosh, I just slapped some red down. Whew, Lord. I never use red. That's the other color I'm using today that is not typically in Tiffany's using, because it scares the bejesus out of me. Why does it do that? Why does red have that effect? And now I'm just using this watercolor paper to kind of pick it up and get me some good marks and things going on. So I'm not really sure what's the deal with why red is such a scary bold color, but it is when it comes to art. It is very much so. And I grabbed my golden fluid red color here. It's a very, very bright red, and I'm still lost. And I will tell y'all that this page, I was like, will this be the first page that I don't actually finish filming? Because it looks a hot freaking mess. A hot mess right here. But I'm going to be okay. We gonna make it. At some point, I do like walk away and come back after a day or two, because it was too much. It was just too much. It was distracting. The composition did not look good. It just was messing with me a little bit. So now I'm just dipping this paintbrush directly into the black gesso. And I'm making some marks, and some energy gets flowing here, and I'm kind of digging it. And my poor paintbrushes, y'all, bless their little hearts. They go through so much. I leave them in the water when I'm not supposed to. I squish them down. I'm just terrible on paintbrushes. That's why I only buy the cheap ones, because heavens to Betsy, they just don't last. They just don't last. And so now, looking at this on the camera, this is pretty cool. I am kind of liking this. But at this moment, yeah, I wasn't really liking it a lot. And then I felt like it had gone too dark, so I wanted to bring the light back in. So I'm taking the gesso and the palette knife. Really, it's just pushing and pulling light and darks to find what you like. And so that's what I'm doing here, is just pushing around, bringing the lights in with the palette knife, bringing the darks in with the black gesso. Drying in between layers is important because we have so much going on. And this paper is super fragile because it's so old, and I don't want the thing just to crumble in my hands. So it's super important to be able to dry those. Now I've grabbed a Prisma. I think it's a Prisma watercolor, or maybe it's just a color pencil. I don't know. In red, because red is the scary color that I'm using today. And now I'm going in with a, excuse me, a little lime. And then I grabbed a new pastel in a little yellow goldeny color. And I really like yellows and turquoises and reds together. So I was like, okay, I can dig this. This is pretty cool. Is it too much? I don't know. I'm just playing, and that's what this is all about. Is playing and grabbing scary colors and trying it. So I challenge you to use a color that scares the bejeez out of you and just rock it out. Just try it. Just see what happens. Look for interesting color combos. And I think about right here is where, oh no, I do add something else. I forgot. So I like that little hole punch thing. And the little girl peeking over from the previous page, because my pages aren't even and I like that, I'm going to just cover her face up so that I don't have to see her right there peeking around that corner. It was a little bit weird, awkward looking when I looked at it like that. I still see her dress and leg, but you don't really know that's what it is until you get to the other side. So I'm just piddling here, and I take a break, and I work on something else for a little while, and now I'm going back in, and that was an oil pastel, and it doesn't make the cut. And then I remembered these beautiful prints that I purchased from Lily Wee. She is on Instagram. I will leave her info at the bottom. And she is just awesome. So I bought these prints. These are not printables, although I have used her printables before. You may be able to get like black and white printables, but these were actual prints that I purchased from her. And I had really had no intention to, excuse me. I really had no intention to use this in my journal, but she just needed to be here. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can roll with that. I will just put her down here. So I am using some matte gel medium, because it needed something a little bit more substantial to hold it down than the glue stick. And I'm slapping that baby down right there in the corner. And I did make a crease because it's going to kind of be in the crease of my book, and I didn't want that to impact its ability to stay glued down. So I kind of crisped that corner up right there. And then I had this little piece of book, like where I've torn a book apart, and it had a little bit of what do you call that? Book by, no, I don't know what it is. The little fringy part from the book where you tear it up. And then Marge's thread book. And if you don't know about Marge and the thread book, I talk about it in some previous videos. But pretty much, I found this in an antique store, and I just call it Marge's book because I think the lady's name was Marge, and I made that up too. This is the world, guys. This is the world Tiffany lives in, where she makes up crazy stories about just about anything that happens to me in a day. So as you see, I stapled that little giblet right there with an X, and I'm going to cover her eye up because I just love Lily's faces. They work very, very well with my style of messy. And when I do faces, I do typically do them very loose and interesting. And, if she doesn't have an eye, then I think that is cool. So I'm down with that. Now, the reason I didn't stick that down and then, staple it to the actual page is because my page is done on the back side. So that is something that you kind of have to think about in advance if you're going to do texture and you're not going to work chronologically, because yeah, you could get a situation where you're going to jack up the page behind us. So let's zoom on down close and personal here. And I just thought that the one word that kept standing out to me was she. Who is she? What is her story? She is beautiful. And that is pretty much going to wrap this baby up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you will leave me a thumbs up and a comment. And don't forget, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It helps me. If you want to check out any of the supplies I've used, they're probably down there in my Amazon storefront. So until next time, guys, toodaloo.